When I record podcasts, I like to stay hydrated. Who knew talking could be so hard? My favourite drink to have to hand is Lifeline's Hydro OG. It's a tried and tested product for me. It helped me and my team complete a 24-hour podcast, giving us the edge that we needed to get over the finish line. So whether you're at the gym, on a bike ride, or just trying to get over that night before, Lifeline's Hydro OG has got your back. Each serving is stocked with all the healthy ingredients and vitamins you could ask for. There are a great range of flavours, and with each serving at only 18 calories, you really can't go wrong. Here at the Shrewsbury Biscuit podcast, we like to support local, independent companies and brands, and Lifelines is a product that I am proud to endorse. Go to lifelines.com. Now that's LYFELINEZ.com to find out more. Now, without further ado, here is today's episode. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to the Shrewsbury Biscuit podcast. I'm Alex Whiteley. My mic seems really quiet for some reason. I don't know why. It's a drizzly Sunday afternoon, and I'm doing the thing I love to do the most, and that's sitting down and having a conversation. It's what I love to do. I want to give you guys a shout out. I want to give a shout out to Web Orchard. You're going to be hearing a lot about them at the moment. So for years, Web Orchard have made a website for us. But I went and ruined it by changing my RSS, my host. If you know podcasting, you understand what I'm saying. So I completely changed my host, who I send my podcast to, who then send it out to other people. And that code got broken up. So I effectively ruined our own website. But Web Orchard are making us a state-of-the-art website. So they are our sponsors. And if you need a website, trust me, those are the guys to go to. They're on Coton Hill, they're local, and they know exactly what they're talking about. So if you need a podcast of any, a website, should I say, maybe for your podcast, I don't know, but go to the Web Orchard. So big shout out to those guys. Now today, we're talking to Stephen Marshall, from Stephen Marshall Coaching, who got in touch with me. Thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
It's nice to meet you. We've been speaking to a lot of people that better other people's lives in one way, shape, or form. And I find it's been really rewarding because I don't know if you feel the same, listeners, if you're listening. We've been on a bit of a journey together.
We have indeed. It's been a rocky couple of years.
It has. We were just talking about the pandemic and stuff, because we were talking about the apartment and stuff. And I'm always talking about, our trials and tribulations. We went through a bit of an ordeal through the pandemic, but not as bad as some people did. But we all got affected, and I think it's still affecting people.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
today.
Yeah, I think the number one thing I come across is people that think that they're not affected by the pandemic, and then it just kind of hits them in the face
subliminally.
Yeah. It's like they kind of blocked out. They were on Zoom parties and they didn't think that they weren't going to get affected by it. And then all of a sudden they don't want to go to a birthday party, or they don't want to go to a Christmas party.
And we are still talking about this. And I think it's important because that happened to me yesterday. It happened to me yesterday. Really? Right? I worked, so I thought, Saturdays is usually a day where I like to stay away from the retail parks and stuff because it's super, super busy.
That's just smart.
It is. My little boy was really ill. I think he come down with he really scared us actually, because the night before he got a really high temperature, and then the next day he was just flat out, just napping. He kept running to the toilet to be sick, and I had to go and get supplies. And I was like, I've got to do this, but it's my son.
Of course.
So I went to Home Bargains, and oh my God, there were so many people in there, and every single aisle there was like between 8 or 12 people down every single aisle, and I felt so. I don't do that, the enclosed spaces and claustrophobic type thing, but I did feel it there, and I felt really panicky, and I was like, oh my God, this is terrible.
I was the same when we came out of lockdown. I remember being in the Bullring in Birmingham, and I consider myself quite a confident person around large crowds. And I don't know what it was. I was outside the Selfridges and I just couldn't catch my breath. And it was just, I was getting pushed into left, right and centre. And then that's when I realised that it doesn't matter who you are, the anxiety can, off the back of lockdown, can really mess with you when you don't expect it's going to.
Yeah. And I feel like this is something you've got to constantly work at as well. So there's no quick fix for any kind of anxiety, any serious mental health issues, even the smallest things. Sometimes you need to work at these things all the time.
100%.
I think the thing we can relate to at the moment, it can be a bit annoying to see. I don't know. I mean, I've been watching I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. I love it. I like. There's some weird things I like, and that's one of the weird things. Yeah. And Boy George is in there, and he's meditating, and he's using mantras and stuff. And people have got. I mean, I feel like maybe it could be a bit more because in the mornings he's waking everybody up with it.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah,
but I think it's really important that he's doing that
for himself.
And to show people that there are ways to deal with.
Yeah, there's something I came across recently. I didn't think I was a selfish person. I think I'm quite a giving person, partners, family, friends.
Yeah.
But I will put my own mental stability before anybody else because I can't give to anybody if I'm not 100%.
Yeah, I think that's really important.
There's a quote I'm sure a lot of people on here would have heard of, but you can't pour from an empty cup. So how can I pour into your cup to give you some of my water if I haven't got a full jug?
Yes, and it is important to especially when you're driving down the road. We're driving these machines that can crash into things at 70 miles an hour. You're going to pick the kids up from school, or you've got to be respectable in your job.
Yeah.
We are driving. Metaphorically, we are driving a moving vehicle, and we've got to stay on the course, haven't we?
Yeah, definitely. I'm probably going to come on to this quite a few times, but it's about wearing. So, have you heard the philosophy that we wear different masks for different situations? Yeah. So, I believe it's very healthy to understand what masks fit into what scenarios, because I can't wear my boys when I'm out with the lads. I can't wear that mask around my missus.
Yeah,
I can't wear my missus mask around the boys, nor can I wear it around my parents or when I'm at work, when I've got clients, when I'm talking to them. I can't be a lad like I am with the boys. Everyone's got them couple of friends who you want to give someone a wedgie, you want to push someone over. They're your best friends you've been for years. So I believe we've got to get very comfortable at wearing masks. We've got to understand that we wear masks. And so many people want to say, no, I don't wear masks. But it's healthy to understand that if I can differentiate between my friend's mask, my parent's mask, my employer's mask, and not try and wear too many masks at once, because that's what we do. We try and put masks on top of each other. We try and put our parent mask and our partner mask and our employee mask all on top of each other without taking little breaks in between them things.
Yeah.
I was speaking to a gentleman the other day, and he was really struggling with his work-life balance. He was unemployed for a long time, and he was a great partner at home. He was a stay-at-home dad. And after he got his dream job, he started to neglect his family. And I said to him, it's not about neglect or you being one better than the other. It's about taking gaps in between them. Because we rush home. If you think you finish your job, you drive home, you come straight in, you see your partner, you see your child. But there's no gap in between them.
Yeah.
Like, how about you just park around the corner for 5? You put meditation, your favourite song. You do a little bit of breath work. And then you come in, you're ready to engage. You've took your work mask off. You've put your partner and your parent mask on. And you've come in.
Yeah.
So straight away, you
decompress.
You've decompressed from work because you can't bring the stresses from work into your home. Because as much as we like to think our partners want to hear about our day at work, nobody really wants to hear about your day at work. They want to know if you had a good day or a bad day. But they don't want to hear about Margaret in IT and how she messed up the email. And, you know what I mean? we all of that information is that needs to be decompressed before you come in.
I was I had a meeting with Lincoln Davis the other day. I was chatting to Anna and Tara about, originally the Shrewsbury Biscuit was a business idea. It's just a podcast, but like if I was going to make it into a business, the idea would be nice coffee shop upstairs, two studios, right? So they kind of, I love the idea.
I love the thought of that.
Yeah,
one of them in the middle of the square in town.
Yeah,
that would be brilliant.
So you could complain about Margaret getting the emails wrong.
Yeah.
and you can get that out. And journal taking is great.
Journaling's great. The gym, journaling, walking, just it needs to be something that's for you. It can't be, let me go home and get my child and go on a walk, because you're not going to be decompressed when you're taking the child on a walk. So you could get annoyed at your child for no reason of their own. They've been themselves. You know who your child is. You know the age they are. You know they're going to mess around, the children. But just because you've had a bad day at work, you can take it out on them. And remember that I'm sure we can all remember one time we got shouted at when we were younger.
Yeah, all the time.
yeah. I got shouted all the time. But if our parents, our grandparents, whoever shouted at us, just decompressed a little bit, just took that time to kind of take 5 minutes out of their day just before they came into the house, we might not have got yelled at.
Maybe. It's a good thought. It is a good thought. And, there are times I think you do go rushing into things without thinking, especially when you come up. There are genuine times I've come home from work and I've just been absolutely, I've been livid, or I've been so like, those bad days at work. And I walk in, and me and my wife, we talk to each other about our emotions and stuff all the time. She's like, "Are you all right?" I'm like, "No, no, I'm not." It is nice to be there for each other. And it's not if you've got an opportunity to get it off your chest, yes. But I guess I'm different because I work nights, so I'm ending my day as everybody's beginning theirs. So, and you were talking about being selfish.
Yes.
I guess it is kind of selfish for me to be coming and be like, and then I'd go to bed and my wife's just sat there like, oh.
And you've affected her day so much.
Yeah.
From you not decompressing.
Yeah.
For 5 minutes for you just to sit. And the song can be, I had a client a couple of years ago who their decompression song was Slipknot, Iowa.
One of mine is Duality, actually.
Oh, Duality is a great. That's my lifting song. If I go for a PB, that's what I lift.
Yeah. All I've got is insanity.
Yeah.
That's just
it's amazing.
And I, so I never used to listen to Slipknot, and I love my music is so varied. It really is. I love my hip hop, my old school 90s hip hop.
Couldn't agree more.
J5.
Yep.
Nas. I don't know. There's so much out there that I just absolutely vibe to. But I love my rock as well. And I would never listen to Slipknot because I don't know what it was. There was something about them I didn't like.
Yeah.
Until I started doing the radio a couple of years ago, and we had Ryan's Corner. He was my friend in America, and he'd give me a few songs to play, and we'd play his songs. Okay. And he would always select Slipknot, and I would take my playlist and I'd put it on my phone and I'd listen through it in the car on the day before the radio show to make sure there was no problems with the music. And then Duality came on, and I was like, and I teared up. I'm not even joking. I'm not exaggerating. I teared up hearing this music, and I turned it up full blast because it just affected me so emotionally. So now I'm listening to Slipknot all the time. It's just weird, isn't it, how we go on these journeys?
Yeah, I think that's another thing. It's just not having a closed off mind. I don't know about yourself, but after I got over the age of 30 and I didn't have all of what society says you must have. Yeah, a home, a car, kids, all this kind of thing, married.
For me, it's the one thing I had to let go of is my family in Ireland, because they're in Ireland and they live on curvy, wavy country roads. Yeah. They hate the fact I drive an automatic, right? And the issue with me driving an automatic is I had to do that for myself because I was moving from Telford to Shrewsbury, still worked in Telford, need to pass quick, right? So I just, bam, it's quicker to learn an automatic. I've done it. I'm there now.
Yeah, cool.
I don't care. It's not. I've never got to somewhere and gone, I wish I'd have done that in a manual.
Yeah.
But yet people are like, oh my God, it's so boring driving an automatic. I would never drive an automatic. I'm like, I don't care. And I had to, it seems simple.
Yeah.
But you're right. No. It's one of those things you have to let go of.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. So after the age of 30, I stopped. I went to Ibiza for my 30th birthday.
Cool.
And I had a mini breakdown.
Okay.
And this is where I was always kind of helping people, and I was in the military. So when I came out of the military in 2012, I was always I knew that I was going to make Stephen Marshall coaching. It just kind of happened. I went to the QE quite a lot and helped out with wounded veterans and just kind of spoke to guys who couldn't decompress from the military, because not a lot of people know this about the military, but they don't get you ready for civilian life.
No, I've heard, yeah.
I'll just give you a quick example. I was in the military for 5.5 years, a very short term. I came out. I lived with my grandparents and parents before I went in the military. Came out, got a very nice job in Birmingham as a security officer in a tax firm, KPMG, and I got a nice little apartment. The British Legion helped me get this apartment in the opposite the mailbox, so right in the middle of Birmingham. And I was like, "Wow, this is cool."
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm a young lad, and I'm 20. I think I was 26 at the time. And I'm in the middle of Birmingham, this new city. I'm from Newcastle originally.
No way, really?
I knew that was going to come.
I mean, that could fall flat on your face. You can't be like, "Oh, you're from Newcastle," but no, I'm from Durham.
Yeah, easily. And I've been gone a long enough time for my accent to kind of mellow out. But yeah, so I'm in the middle of Birmingham, and I got a knock at the door. I was on nights on my security job, and I got a knock at the door, and it was a bailiff. And this bailiff said, "Are you Mr. Marshall?" I said, "Yes, I am." The postal service in our building wasn't very good. There was wrong stickers on wrong letter boxes, and nobody really looked after each other's letters. You kind of got your letters and left the rest on the top.
Yeah.
I didn't realise that council tax and utility bills weren't part of my rent.
Yeah.
So I've been paying this £700 a month rent for this 1-bedroom apartment in Birmingham.
Not paying your council tax.
Not paying council tax, not paying utility bills. And straight away then I realised that if you don't make sure that every box is ticked and you know all information about everything, you kind of get yourself caught up in a situation of, am I being the best that I can be? Am I able to execute what I'm meant to be doing at my fullest potential? So when I was out helping these squaddies and I was talking to people and I knew I was going to start the coaching business, I realized straight away that how you do anything is how you do everything.
Yeah.
So how you get up in the morning and leave your house is how your rest of your day is going to go. If you leave your house dirty, stuff in the sink, bed not made, these little bits and pieces, clothes in the corner, you're already setting yourself up for failure for the rest of the day, because you're only going to come back to that. So even if your day is awful, if you've left your house and your day is awful, like you've been shouted at work, you never got to the gym, you haven't eaten properly, your kid gets sick, any of these stuff, if you've done them little things in the morning, you're coming back to a nice house and you can say to yourself, "Oh, well, this is the best thing about today."
Yeah.
So
it took that initial, "Oh my God, what?" I didn't realize, "Oh my God, what am I going to do?"
Yeah.
I wasn't prepared for this.
No.
To realize you do have to be prepared.
You do have to be prepared for every scenario.
Yeah.
So I give this analogy on how you do everything is how you do anything. Sorry, how you do anything is how you do everything. If you're into model planes, be the best at building model planes. So people think when they come to me that they've got to be, they see this hairy 6'2", 16.5 stone guy, and they don't think I've got any emotions or I haven't been anywhere. But as soon as people get to talk to me, they realize that I have been at the lowest of lows. I've also been at the highest of highs.
Yeah.
I have been at both margins. I've been ready to jump in front of a train.
It really is interesting, isn't it? When you do look at I come up with this. I keep bringing it up because to me it does. It just blew my mind. Something really simple. I was watching a bus go past, and this is going to sound like, I don't know. You tell me, but I looked at that bus and I thought, every single person on that bus has got their own lives. They're going to go to their own homes, deal with their own problems.
Yeah.
Every single person sat on that bus. Yeah. And that sounds like a really simple thing to think about.
Yeah.
But you're like, this isn't the Matrix. This is real life.
No, yeah. So, like I was saying, if you take everybody on face value, if I see a little rocker in town and he's kind of smoking a joint and he's doing his own thing, and instantly I think, you're wasting your life. For all I know, he could be at university becoming a biochemist or a brain surgeon. And most of let's not beat around the bush. Most people who are in university now have a smoke and they do crazy stuff. That's your time to do your crazy stuff. So we can't judge anybody. I spoke to a homeless guy in town the other day, and he told me about how he used to be a site manager of a building firm.
Yeah.
And one thing led to another. His wife left him. His business has broke down, and all of a sudden now he's on the street in town asking for change.
Yeah. It's mad, isn't it?
Yeah, you can't. You are right. Whenever I used to get on the tube, I was based in central London for a little while. I was in the army. And I used to get on the tube, and I'm from the northeast, where we sit on a bus and we have a conversation.
Yeah. You can't do that down south, really.
I didn't know that at the time. So I'm saying, how's your day to people? And these people are just shrugging me off.
You can get away with it, though, because you've got a Geordie accent, I think.
No, you can't.
No?
Not in London. Not in the tube. No.
Oh, okay.
I made a joke. This lady was standing next to me. I had my arm up on the bar, holding myself up, and there was this lady standing next to me. She must have been about, I don't know, in her 30s. And I said, "Oof, normally you've got to take me for a drink before you get this close." And she shuffled herself down the car as fast as she could, because that's not acceptable.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
It is very weird. So I think London is very, very, very bad for mental stability and mental growth.
I think it's, like getting to where you were then, at that point where you could say to that lady, normally you'd have to go on a date for that, is to get to that point at some point where you can open up to people.
Yeah.
And break the ice, And there have been times when I've gone to a pub or something, and there's like 3 urinals, and I'm like, something's got to go in the middle one. So I'm like, right, where's the candles, guys? Get us breathing. Like, we're about to get really intimate. Yeah. Like, not everybody can do that. Do you know what I mean? And I think you've got to be in the right state of mind to be able to do that. When you're having a bad day and you're not feeling the most, there are days when we don't feel friendly. I think it's normal. Yeah. That's natural, There's days I come in, I don't want to speak to anybody. I just want to. But when you are feeling that way and you have to perform, where do you go to mentally to get you into that space? Where do you switch it? Because there are those raw emotions where sometimes you've got to be professional. You can't go in there and be like, oh, yeah. You got to be like, hello, you know.
So I had a client who's now one of my very, very good friends. And the reason that we're very good friends is because I give him some of the worst coaching that I've ever done. Because I wasn't in a good place. My coaching business was going quite good, and I got stuck in. I was just turning 30. It was around about that time, and I give really bad advice to him, and something happened where he lost his job.
Oh gosh,
because he was getting bullied by his boss at work, and I said to him, "You need to confront him."
Yeah.
Now, there is many other tools I could have put in place before telling him to confront his boss. Long story short, he got sacked.
Yeah.
And because I never performed well on that day, when I spoke to him the couple of days before he quit his job, way before he got sacked, I realized that I personally need to put something in place. Like we said, a decompression before I go on calls with people, because people are relying on me to give them great advice. But what I've also realized is I don't give anybody any advice that I wouldn't give myself. Where beforehand, I was kind of like quite erratic, where I would probably have confronted a boss and I would have got sacked. But now I realize that before I go on any call with anybody, because some of my calls are done over Zoom, some are met up in coffee shops, some are on walks, some are over the telephone. And every single time before I go on a call, I take 15 minutes. Even if I've got to tell the person I'm running late, because the quality that they're going to get is so much better. And I do a body scan meditation.
Okay.
So all you do is, you can find them online. It's very, very easy. They're 10 minutes. You just type in YouTube, body scan 10-minute meditation. And it just plants you where you are. And it takes away any negativity. So if I was having an argument with the missus, or I had a really bad call, or something went wrong within the business, I didn't get a loan or a grant that I was looking for, and I was a bit annoyed, that 15 minutes of telling somebody I'm going to be late gives them 120% of my devoted time to them.
Yeah.
it's back to that decompression. That's what I always tell people, to make sure you take time for you so that you can give time back to others.
It seems like such a hard thing to do, but it really isn't. You know, with the biscuit at the moment, things are absolutely crazy. I'm here, I'm there. I love that. And I'm thinking, how can you do that? But I'm a big fan of a guy called Harry Mack. He's a freestyle rapper on YouTube. He's massive.
He's amazing.
He's wonderful. But I've been watching some of his behind the bars, like vlogs that he does.
Yeah.
And he's talking about how he does his day. Now, this guy is everywhere. He's just on a world tour. He's doing shows. He's doing live shows. He's constantly on the go. But every morning he has this ritual of meditation. Mm-hmm. And he just filters out all the comments on Facebook, all the assignments he set himself, all these sort of things. Just filters everything out, and he has a run, and he comes in and he starts his day. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking that would be lovely to do, you know. And it makes you realise, doesn't matter how busy you are, mm-hmm. you've got to take that time up for yourself. 100%. So if you're going to be late for a meeting, that's really important.
Yeah, it is 100%. Because imagine, just let's say, for instance, I don't know, you're in charge of a pension fund, of a large corporation, and you've had a stressful day. Your wife's nagging you, kids aren't doing what they're told. You get stuck in traffic. You rush into that meeting, flustered. You could mess up somebody's life savings. Yeah,
of course, yeah.
That's on the higher scale. Let's just look at the lower scale. Let's just
if you're a police officer, or safety
police officer. Yeah, you could imagine. What if you're a care worker for the elderly?
Yeah,
and you forget that Joan or whoever can't sit in a certain position.
I don't know. I won't just divulge any information about people in my job, but my particular job, is I work on my own for the night, and I'm responsible for people's lives, mm-hmm. you know. And there have been times, I've been there for a few years now, where I've trained people up.
Yeah.
And the two fundamental things that I always say to people when they're going to go into a job, because like it sounds like a job, like it sounds like a really easy job, but there are times when you have to act, mm-hmm. and you got to get the information right. You know, these are people's lives we're dealing with, and I always say to people, you have to be well rested and you have to be fed.
Yeah.
Because if you're, you know what people are like when they're not eating, and they've got no energy, they kind of get snappy, and mm-hmm. And if you're not well rested, you can make mistakes. There are things you need to do to look after your body 100%. Before you make those decisions.
I think I've got an 8-week program at the moment.
Yeah.
And the 8-week program is called Worrier to Warrior.
I love that, by the way. I saw that on your Instagram.
Yeah.
It's great.
So the whole purpose is whatever aspect of your life you're worrying about. It can be anything. It could be it could be your parents, it could be your spouse, it could be your job, it could be your confidence to go to the gym. It could be your confidence going to a Christmas party because we haven't been to them in a couple of years. It could be like these are the things that we now need to start taking time out and thinking to ourselves, what are we going to do when we do get anxious? Because everyone gets anxious. I was anxious knocking on your door before I came into the podcast. I get anxious when I go on stage. I get anxious when I talk to a new client. And the Worrier to Warrior program gives you the tools, little tiny nuggets of information that when you've got them all, when I say one of them, you're like, oh yeah, I've heard of that. Then I tell you another one and then say, I didn't realize I could do it that way. And then it comes to the end and we have this big talk on the last week about what you've learned with your worksheets and things like that. And you realize that thing that you were so worried about is so minuscule.
Yeah.
So at the start of the course, and this is something I'll be putting out on Instagram and Facebook and stuff, I show a picture of a barbarian army coming over a hill. And I say, how does this make you feel? If you were standing right there at the bottom of that hill and they were coming for you, how would this make you feel? I said, really look at the photo. How does this make you feel? They look at the photo and they're like, I'd be scared. Like, they've got swords and they've got bows and arrows. They're on horses. Do I have a weapon? I said, you have no weapon. And they're like, okay, so can I make a weapon? Not enough time. And that you can see the people are getting anxious on the call. And I'm like, all right. So they're like, I'd panic. I'm panicking now thinking about it. I said, okay, do me a favor. Just really look at this photo. They look closely in the photo, and it's toy figurines.
Yeah.
the thing that we look at straight away, the party, the speech, the presentation, we think of that straight away and we panic. We have a meltdown. We're like, oh my God, I can't do this. But when you break it down and you realize that the people in the crowd aren't really thinking about you, because that's what we do when the whole reason why we get scared when we public speak or whenever we get in front of a large crowd is because, I'm sure you know, that hundreds of thousands of years ago, the only time you'd be in front of a crowd is when the tribe were going to kick you out. You were on trial, so you're going to have to survive by yourself. And this has been passed down from generation to generation. It's scary to stand in front of crowds. So what we need to do in society today is realize that everybody is selfish. So during the pandemic, I spoke to a client and she was saying, I can't do this Zoom meeting. I've got to do a presentation, PowerPoint presentation on Zoom in front of 150 people in my work. I can't do it. I said, remember one thing. Most of them people aren't looking at the camera. They're probably doing their own thing. They're at work. They're at home working. So they're not worried about you. The other half aren't really paying any information of what they're seeing on their screen because they're looking at themselves in the top corner. How many times have you been on a FaceTime or
I do it myself. I'm like, what am I looking at myself for?
I'll look at my missus like, what's in the top corner? And I'm like, oh, it's me. Like, I'm looking at myself. You do. We're selfish human beings in society today. Even if you're the most giving, caring person in the world, tell me you don't look in the mirror before you walk out. Of course you do. You want to look, you want to see what people see.
I do it before I go out, and my little boy's 7. He does the same thing. The other day, I was going out, and before I'd even had a chance, Timmy goes, "I need to go look at myself in the mirror," and then we both go. My wife's just tutting in the background, like, you're both the same, and I'm like, yeah, well, you know, you got to.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
So before this is as I say, the start of the course is about really understanding what it is you're worried about, because when you break it down, it's actually not that scary.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to do with everything, really.
I love what you're doing. I love the concept of this, because, you know, when you speak to life coaches, it's always like, let's make you successful in like the most traditional senses, you know. Yeah. But you're taking like emotions that guys don't usually, these things don't exist sometimes for guys. There are great folks out there. They're doing great things. Men walking and talking.
Yeah, I was with Dan the other day.
He's a great guy. He's been on the show before. We need to get you back on, Dan. It'd be nice to catch up.
Let's do a 3-way. Let's all three in. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, that'd be wonderful. There's the great things that Mind are doing at the moment. They're doing.
Mind are doing great stuff.
They're looking at ways that because there's a strong connection with addiction in gaming at the moment, and you know, I've seen a lot of the studies where, okay, as a really cool experiment, if you got a young one and they're sitting there playing on their tablet or their Xbox or the controller right now, go and just whip it out their hands and see what the reaction you get. You're going to cause a huge psychological breakdown.
Make sure you're prepared for that.
Yeah. So I think what Mind are doing at the moment, they're trying to reach out to gamers and trying to find a way to and I love that. I think it's great. I was going to do a 12-hour podcast, I think I was going to do, but I was doing Pod Aid at the time. We did a 24-hour podcast.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I need to listen to that.
It was good, and we raised a lot of awareness. We raised £1,300 for Lincoln.
That's amazing.
But no, you are looking at some serious issues that are starting to come out into the forefront now, guys. But it's taken a bit of time.
Yeah. It's about understanding that every individual person has their own struggles.
Yeah.
So I like speaking. I've spoke quite a few times at Help the Heroes. I've spoke at events, anti-knife crime in London and Newcastle. Yeah, there was a lot of knife and gun crime when I grew up, when I was younger. I can get on stage and I could speak to I believe a good healthy crowd, upwards of 2,000 people, and be confident, be nervous before I went on, obviously, be anxious, but I know I can hold me on. But if you put a book in front of me and you ask me to read a book on stage, I would crumble.
Yeah.
Public speaking from a text just would kill me. I wouldn't be able to do it.
I feel like there are ways of dealing with that, though, in a way that you just own it regardless of mistakes.
No, but this is what I'm saying. Everybody has their own thing. Everybody has that one thing that they just know they couldn't do. Like, there's no ifs or buts about it. If you, like, I'm dyslexic, so I just know it would not work if I was to try and read a book. I can read a book to myself, take me a good couple of hours more than the average person. That's why I listen to audiobooks.
Yeah.
But we live in a society now where getting around any of your Achilles heel. Anything that you find difficult is very, very simple. I was speaking to a lady the other day who, she jumped on my 8-week course, actually. She passed with flying colours. She was amazing.
Wonderful.
And she came for the 8-week course because she wanted to swim in open water.
Nice.
Every single person, just because you're good at something doesn't mean they're good at it. And just because they look like they're good at it doesn't mean they are.
No, yeah.
On the back of my T-shirt, it says, just because somebody carries it well doesn't mean it's not heavy.
Yeah, I love your slogan as well. I'm going to say it, but I'll bleep it out. It says, fear and start failing.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
That's something I've lived my life by for a long time. I came out the military, went into security, and got told at every avenue that I wouldn't be able to start my own security firm. So I started up Stephen Marshall Security. And it was just me and 2 other fellas, and we done close protection work in London. We drove amazing cars, Rolls Royces, Ferraris. We lived really good lives. We made very good money. And that was round about my 30th birthday when I realised none of this matters. But it was the fear of doing it that I had to overcome to get to that point. So I believe life's all about levels. You have the level of when you're going through puberty. You have the level of when you're going from teenager to adult. You then go through the who am I going to be now I'm turning into from a young adult? Who am I turning into as, like, what am I going to do for the rest of my life? And I think people get stuck on this one goal. And now some people are going to get a little bit annoyed now. But the whole let me work on my career and make sure that I get to this position so I can retire, you're putting all your chips in one pot, hoping that you're going to get this next position and this next position and this next position. There's no other avenues. You haven't got a side hustle. You haven't got a podcast. You haven't got a business, a vlog. You haven't got something that really sits inside you and really lights you up. Like if you speak to most bank managers, banking doesn't really light them up. Do you know what I mean? The holiday in Barbados doesn't really light them up. Like I spoke to a guy the other day who is a multi-millionaire, and he says nobody knows about his train collection. That's his thing that lights him up.
And sometimes that's what peace and tranquility is.
Exactly. So peace and tranquility, people say to me when I do consultation calls, I do a half-an-hour consultation to see if I'm what they're going to need. Yeah. Because I know I do not deal with mental illness. I don't deal with people who can't be shouted at. I shout at my clients if they don't do something right. I was shouted at in the military. I became a very good soldier. I learned how to turn people into what they needed to be for the best version of themselves at a very young age. I was a builder before I went in the military, and we had apprentices. I had a small business, and we had apprentices. And if I say to you, oh, just next time you're doing the podcast, if you could just turn the volumes up a little bit, because I couldn't really hear you properly. Or if I go, next time you're doing the podcast, turn the volumes up. Which one are you going to listen to more?
I'm going to take that as a soundbite. Yeah. I'm going to play it at the beginning.
But do you know what I mean? We are animals, and this is what we need to get back to. Yes, we have spaceships in the sky. We have satellites in the sky. Sorry, spaceships possibly. We can talk to each other all the way on the other side of the world via a screen. We have all this technology, but we're still animals.
Yes.
And if we try and get away from our animalistic foundations, I believe it's something that we need to look at more about who we are, where we're going, and almost on a philosophical level, I suppose, understanding that you need to have certain things covered in your life. You need security, you need food, you need water, you need love. Everybody needs love. Mm-hmm. Wherever you get that love from, that's up to you. Security, food, love, I believe they're the main ones. If you're not secure where you are, you won't sleep well. If you don't have abundance of food coming in, you're going to be worried, so you're not going to sleep well.
Yep.
And if you don't have love, you're going to be up thinking about Who's going to love me?
Who cares for me?
Yeah. And social media is a very big trap in that as well. That's another rabbit hole.
I think social media is both a blessing and a curse.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm tangled up in my headphone wire. Of course I am. I love social media for what it is as a tool for me at the moment, and plus I've got friends and family all around the world. I think we all have, so that for that is great. But at the same time, I was. They just put a post up on a local newspaper thing about how the Artemis rocket is launched. This is amazing. They're going to put a base on the moon. Wonderful. Great story. Technological advancements. I think that's great. But yet, commenters on that post still found a way to flip it against a rhetoric against immigrants, refugees. And I'm like, how can you do that? How can you be so negative in your life that you take an amazing story about technological advancement to that? And I'm like, how you have to be so ingrained with negativity to do that.
Have you ever seen a successful person write a negative comment?
Well, I do sometimes, but I think sometimes it's good to vent. But
I think venting and negative comments are two different things.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
I think venting, having a good political conversation or having a good conversation about your views, there's nothing wrong with that. But I think unsuccessful people in life spread negativity.
Yeah.
There is no ifs or buts about that. I cancel out all negativity in my life.
Yeah.
I work very hard at cancelling all negativity out.
I did a podcast a few years ago with Shane. It was my ex co-host. We had an open discussion about mental health, and we were talking about family and friends, negativity, and I was saying it is okay to delete family off Facebook. Do it if it makes you feel bad. Do it. It doesn't matter. Like your health, your mental health, like you were saying in the beginning there. If you're not right, if you're given from an empty cup because there's somebody on Facebook making you feel terrible, remove that. Take it away.
I make sure that I am 100% focused before I call certain family members.
Yeah.
I love them. They give me so many things growing up, but they're negative people.
Yeah.
So if I have to make sure that I am 100% before I speak to that person or go to a family function, I've got to make sure that I meditate for like 2 days before because I've got to make sure, because I'm very, very forward when I speak to people.
Yeah.
If I see something wrong and somebody asks me, I'll give them like a direct answer.
And I think I'm getting a bit better with dealing with negative situations and negative people, because it all goes under the same umbrella, really, ultimately. Like, for example, last night I was meant to go to Hanu Poke. George, he's been on the Biscuit before. He was a waiter at Hickory's. He started his own food business. Now he's got his own restaurant. Congratulations to those guys.
Well,
honestly, we were meant to be there last night for the soft launch, and my boy's throwing up, and he's got high temperature. My wife's getting stressed. I'm thinking, no, I've got to be here. So I did. Cancelled it. And deep down inside me, there was this little ball of fire going, oh my God, you've let someone down. This is disappointing. But then I shut that down. I was like, my family, I am here to look after them. Doesn't matter. Gone.
Yeah.
I don't worry about that.
That's amazing that you can do that.
Yeah.
But how many times have you not done that?
All the time.
Yes.
This is new for me.
So this is what I'm saying. People want to get confident. People call me up and they're like, I've got to do this. I need to be confident for this. And I'm like, well, if it's in 2 weeks, that's not going to happen. Confidence is like building a good deadlift or a good pull-up.
Yeah.
If you can't do a pull-up and then you want to come to me and say, in 2 weeks, I want to do 10 pull-ups, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you go to a personal trainer, sorry. So working on your confidence and working on you being happy and confident in yourself starts within, because you need to, as soon as you keep promises to yourself, that's inner confidence.
Yeah.
If you say to yourself, I'm up at 6 a.m. to go on my walk before I go to work at 8:30, and you don't do that, well, your inner confidence is getting beaten down. And if you can't make a promise to yourself and keep it, how are you going to make a promise to somebody else and keep it?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you cutting that fire off straight away, suffocating that fire of you feeling like I've let my friend down. As soon as you tell him about your boy, I'm sure he's going to understand.
Yeah, he did. He was wonderful.
Yeah,
he was really good. But you know how you take yourself on these journeys.
Of course.
Where it's like, What I did before we started this interview is I put a little thing on Facebook. You may see me on Facebook.
Yeah. No.
Well, I basically said I want to talk about worry. You know, and we're talking about putting fires out and getting ourselves ready and meditating before we go. Put a different mask on, right? Yeah. So I just put, how do people, I wrote, how do you deal with existential worry? Do you have your own coping mechanisms? Have you recently learned something new, or is this an issue for you? And I will mention first names, but I won't mention second names unless, okay. So Louise is somebody I've known for years, and she wrote, so I had a major anxiety a few years ago, third mental breakdown, and all that, and was referred to a group therapy. They taught us to put aside 1 hour a day to worry. So that at 7 p.m, I would sit there and worry as much as I wanted. Any thoughts that popped up during the day, I would write down and then add them to the agenda for worry time. 7 p.m. comes around and I'm looking at the list and I'm like, why am I worrying about these? In the end, I was able to skip the designated hour and take better control of my worries by realizing that they weren't really things to worry over or were out of my control, and I couldn't do anything to affect them. That's not to say that I didn't worry and don't have anxiety, but it's no longer crippling.
That's back to what I said at the start about the toy army.
Yeah. She
looked really deeply later on after she wasn't panicking. And she realised that she had no control over them, or they weren't as big as what she thought.
Oh, wow. Well done, Louise. Thank you so much for writing in that. Stuart Turner, he says, I'm a men's mindset coach, and worry is something that comes up a lot. It's all about understanding what we can and can't control, about recognising that we can only control what we do, say, etc., and that anything anyone else says or does is beyond our control. So once we start to see how we can only affect our own behavior, we start to worry less. Everyone's an idiot, right? So once you understand that, people make mistakes. People may say the wrong thing, give the wrong suggestions. I think once you understand that, you can kind of just get on with
100%. Your thoughts and your actions are the only two things that you control.
Yeah.
And there is nothing else that you have control over. Yeah. So why worry about something that isn't in your control?
Yeah.
And now that's not to say like, fuel bill, the fuel is going through the roof, and the utility bills, they're not in your control. So of course you're going to worry about them. But how much worrying time are you going to give to them?
Yeah. I think in that situation, we realise everyone's in the same boat.
Everyone is, of course they are.
There are going to be a point at some time where maybe some of you might have to write an email to work and say, I can't afford the fuel to get to work.
Yeah.
That is going to happen. It's going to happen. Yeah. And that's up to companies and businesses to try and help you out there, because you're doing everything in your control and your power to be able to make this work. And if it doesn't work because of the mechanics of society at the moment, that's not your problem.
No, of course not.
And Becky Lisney, who's a great guest. Make sure you check out Lilith on Instagram, an amazing photographer that encourages empowerment in women. Embrace those curves and be you who you are.
That's good.
She put, this is something I know that plagues a lot of people. I have no memory of anything before existing. I have no ability to remember what happens when I'm asleep. So existential worry is something I think I can look at like, yes, I want to exist, but by the time I don't, I won't be able to care about it. I think our morality is what makes our lives so precious. The days feel long, but the years feel short, and our time is precious because there's not a lot. It won't ever feel like a lot really either. And none of us know how much time we have. So seize the day. Oh, that's nice.
That's very nice.
Yeah, very nice. Thank you guys for writing in those. I realised I was at a weird angle trying to read that then. But I like that people, it's a common thing for people to think about worry.
Yeah.
What experience have you had with your client in sort of getting over that hurdle?
Understanding that you're allowed to worry is a big one.
Yeah.
You're allowed to worry about as many things as you want to. It's about where does the worry sit after you've thought about it? Is it sitting on the surface still? Are you still driving, thinking about the worry? Like the first lady said, Louise, take that time to worry, but make sure that you're not sitting on the sofa by yourself when you worry. Do something. Go on a walk and worry. Go to the gym and worry. I like to punch the bag in the gym.
Yeah.
When I think about my worry, I like to punch it away. I've got a free, this isn't a plug by the way, but I do have a free ebook on my website.
Plug it, tell people.
Yeah. So the whole premise of the book is I believe in creating avatars within ourselves. So I have a avatar. My avatar gets rid of my worry and my dread. He's a Viking on top of a mountain with a cage, and at the bottom of the mountain there is a lake. I put the worry inside the cage, and with his big muscles, 7 foot tall, he swings it, throws it into the lake, and drowns the worry.
Ah.
So that premise can work differently for different people. I had a couple of years ago, I got told about thinking about yourself on a cloud as you're meditating or you're taking time out. And when you're sitting on this cloud, there's 2 conveyor belts. There's one coming towards you, there's one going away. The stuff that's coming towards you is all the positive things that you know is going to happen tomorrow. You can do this on an evening before you go to bed. The conveyor belt going away is all of the worry and negativity from the day that's just gone.
Nice.
Take 10 minutes to do this. It was brilliant for me. It really was.
I'm an insomniac. I have been since I was about 13, 14. Every now and again I get insomnia and I struggle to sleep. And it's actually a meditation, a couple of types of meditation that's helped me get to sleep over the years.
Okay.
Sometimes I'll use them, sometimes I won't, because I feel like if you use it for too long, it kind of wears out a little bit. But one of them was thinking you're on a boat on a lake in the Great Lakes in America, wherever it is. You know, we were in Bala. Doesn't matter what lake you're on, but like just sitting there until I started feeling nausea from the boat, weirdly. And then the other one is to picture a blackboard, an empty blackboard, and just think, look at it. Just look at that blackboard. Stare at it. And then it kind of drowns out all the other feelings. And it goes to show that sometimes that inner mind, those things that use those processes. I always talk about my cold showers. Whenever I'm going to do something that makes me feel anxiety, because I do have social anxiety. Yeah, I have done forever. In fact, you know, the whole home bargains thing is a testament to that.
Yeah, of course.
So you know, I will gradually turn the temperature right down to its lowest in the shower, and breathe through the water. And eventually I'll get rewarded with a warm shower afterwards.
Oh, nice.
And it resets my brain. There's no panic anymore. I know how to breathe through it.
Yeah, I like that. I do like that. For somebody who says they have social anxiety, you do really well.
1-to-1 is not too bad.
But not even just 1-to-1. I see you on your Instagram. You were amazing the other day. I seen you at the firework display. Yeah. You do get out and about. So you are conquering it. And I think you need to give yourself a massive pat on the back for that.
Oh, thank you.
I think we all need to make sure that the things that we were scared, worried, or anxious about, as soon as we overcome them, we need to have these small victories.
Yeah.
I think that we're just like, oh, I got over that. Oh, good.
Yeah.
But make sure the victories are things that are going to impact you for the better. Don't like, oh, amazing, I did that presentation, let me buy a Chinese. Because you're going to feel groggy the next day. Obviously, it's always nice to buy a bit of fast food, but if you're going to celebrate the small victories with fast food, all of a sudden you're not going to be in a great place. So I believe celebrating all these small victories, making your bed in the morning. A client came back to me that I coached about 3-4 years ago, just before the pandemic, and he said the one thing that changed my life was making the bed in the morning.
Yeah, yeah.
And I said, tell me more. That's kind of what I do. Tell me more. And he's like, I made the bed, and because I made the bed, I was like, let me take the cups downstairs. Took the cups downstairs. I was like, well, let me just clean up the kitchen. But before you know it, I'm cleaning the whole house.
That it works.
Yeah, it does.
It really does work. That's how I've done the things today. You know, because I'm because we're building this website, I'm sat designing logos and stuff. I have been for the last couple of weeks. And I was sat, and just before you came, about an hour before you came, I looked, and there's just stuff all over my bed. My desk is a mess, and I was just kind of like, right, I need to put this in here, want to hoover around. My wife did the dishes actually, but so thank you, wife. She just come in. But before you know, you sat in a tidy place, and then once you've done what you're doing, you can go back to that, or you can come away from it and go back to it.
It just comes back to what I was saying earlier about like them little tiny victories. If we put them in place. If you have a terrible day, so say you go out and your day is awful, but you come back to a tidy home or your bed made, at the very least, you can say, it's been a terrible day, but I'm getting into that bed. I can start again. And I believe I'm very good at this, and I know when people have done the warrior to warrior course, they get very good at it. But it's about leaving things behind from yesterday and not taking yesterday's stuff into tomorrow. So just because you had a bad day yesterday, don't have a bad day tomorrow as well because of yesterday.
Yeah. One of the worst traps I think we find ourselves getting into is when you wake up and you think, oh, today's going to be terrible.
Yeah.
And then you end up having a bad day because you've told yourself it's going to be
terrible. You've told yourself. This negative self-talk is one of the worst things.
Yeah.
Because as soon as perfect example, you stub your toe on the side of the table. Yeah. I've stubbed my toe.
The worst pain in the world.
The worst.
But it's not.
It's not. But for that 3 milliseconds, it is the worst pain in the world. And then all of a sudden, it's, my shirt's not ironed. And then soon as them negative thoughts start creeping in, it's just like a snowball down a mountain.
Yeah.
But if you can nip that in the butt straight away and say, no, wait a second. Let me just, before I leave the house, give myself 5 minutes. Let's do some breath work. It's a perfectly easy breath work you can do. It's called the square. You breathe in for 3. And you imagine drawing a square in your mind. I use my nose to do it. So you breathe in for 3, and then you breathe out for 3, and then you hold for 3, and then you breathe in for 3.
Oh, excuse me, sorry. I don't know you want to you. I just saw a sick child last night. So, yeah.
That's fine. But the breath work before you do anything takes you a minute. If you can't take a minute out for yourself before you leave the house, or before you come into the house, or before you go into work, or before you go into the shops if you've got social anxiety. Like I was just in Lidl earlier, it was like rammed.
Yeah.
And literally, I seen the queue as I was going in, and I was like, all right, let me just do some breath work. Because even though I'm a confidence coach, confidence anxiety, whatever you want to call it, I still get nervous. When I was, as I said before, I was coming in here, I done breath work. I want to make sure that the queue that annoyed me in Lidl didn't come into the podcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think as soon as we take accountability that every engagement is a different part of the day, you can't say I had a bad day.
No.
You can't say, you can say, the day was up and down. But you can't say I had a bad day.
It's one of those things, isn't it, where you can be like, just do this, 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 and this until it happens to you, and you notice yourself spiraling down, and it's kind of like, oh my God, I'm doing the one thing I tell people not to do. But a helpful tool I had walking around Home Bargains yesterday, in my head, I was singing Miss Fat Booty by Mos Def, because it's very lo-fi, very relaxed. It's a great. Go and listen to that song now.
That's
tell me it doesn't.
Song. You need to listen to it.
And I was singing that in my head. It's kind of like an earworm for me at the moment. But that relaxed me a little bit, and I got through my shopping list. Lists are a great thing. Alex McCarthy, who came on the show recently, she's helped me. She gave me the idea. She gave me the task of completely digitizing my life. Don't use a paper diary anymore.
Oh.
And I've completely now, I'm sitting here on my phone. I've got a list of things I want to talk about. Mm-hmm. I get satisfaction out of finishing that list.
Oh my God, it's the best thing in the world.
Yeah.
Lists are just amazing. And I think my missus is very, very bad at this. She'll be like, all right, I'm going to go into the shop. I said, have you got a list? No, I don't need a list. And then she comes out and she's like, oh, we forgot milk.
Yeah.
Like, just make a list.
Yeah. I have these little whiteboards I've got everywhere. I've got one in my bag I take to work. I've got one there, and I've got one by my computer. Okay. So that if I'm editing, I think that's one thing I'm not going to be able to I can digitize it with my to-do list, but I like to have the whiteboard so it can be like, I need Stephen's podcast doing artwork.
Yes.
I need to do this. I need to do the Canva video. I need to do this.
Yeah.
And then I can just wipe it off the whiteboard.
There's a satisfaction about rubbing off a board.
Yeah.
I believe like if you're in a space where you can do that, I think that's great. But having most of the things on your phone you have your phone with you more than you have your car keys, your wallet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Your phone is your wallet. So why not have everything on there?
Amazing.
There's a great app as well called Things 3.
Okay.
That is, you pay a one-off life subscription, and if it literally goes from your desktop to your tablet to your phone and all links together.
Oh wow!
So it's like I put everything on there.
I did the same with Outlook, because I found out. I thought there's no way Gmail is going to speak to Outlook. They're competing companies, but they do. They sync up.
Yeah.
And so then you can have everything on your phone. Yes, there are apps out there.
Yeah, there's loads of apps. Yeah.
I think there are a couple of things I know we're running short on time.
Not so.
Who are your inspirations? Who do you go to? Is there a YouTuber? Is there an author? Is there a musician that inspires you? What do you think about them?
I used to really look for inspiration in other people. Like, I used to always like, who am I looking up to now? And I'd be like, oh, Joe Rogan. Like, I love what Joe Rogan's done. And then I'd look at fight. I boxed in the military. I boxed before I used to Thai box before the military. I used to look up at fighters that have been world champions. And then I heard Matthew McConaughey say one day that his inspiration was himself in 10 years.
Yeah, that's good.
So as soon as I heard that at 26, I was like, okay, cool. So 36-year-old me, which is next year. But that will be my inspiration. And then 46. And every single time I do something new in my life, I absolutely shock myself.
I do it the other way around, weirdly. I look at where I was a few years ago and where I am now, especially with the biscuit. You know, there are people that get in touch with me now, want advice with audio. I'm doing workshops with Aaron Child soon on how to create your own podcast.
Well, that's the same thing. It's exactly the same thing, just you're looking at it in two different ways. So I think about what I'm going to be at 36, 46, and I know the levels in which I want my life to go. You're looking back on where you are and you're saying to yourself, oh my God, look how far I've come. So it's the same thing. Like I still look back at where I was at 26, thinking I knew everything about the world, by the way. Yeah. I knew nothing.
I think it's. I think you need to have a few people. I mean, like I used to love Kevin Smith. He was one of my heroes. A guy had nothing, made something out of nothing, with Clerks and Jane Silent Bob. But then I realised that that wasn't the version of Kevin Smith that I actually adored. Because as much as I love Jane Silent Bob and Clerks and stuff, this guy was a podcasting pioneer, and he was actually listening to his podcasts that really got me out of a rut. And also created a monster inside me, you know, a few years ago. So I feel like, and then I feel like I needed to add someone. Joe Rogan was one for a while, but I feel like he's got his flaws too. So there's a certain style of Joe Rogan that I like, and there's, you know, I mean, there's certain things I can take from people.
There is definitely people that I look to and I think that part of that person is inspirational.
Yeah.
Like most of the people that I listen to, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, I find inspiration in most things. Definitely using them to visualize where I'm going.
Yeah.
I believe in visualization quite a lot.
Yeah.
I believe in mood boards. I believe in power songs. But this isn't magic.
Yeah, I think you're right. And if someone was to ask, "Are you going to be the next Joe Rogan?" No, I'm going to be Alex Whiteley. Yeah. I'm going to be the Alex Whiteley.
You're going to be the one Alex Whiteley.
I might even add a bitch on the end of that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to be the next Alex Whiteley.
Yeah.
Of course, I'll have to beep that out.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
But no, I agree with what you're saying. But I believe that we need to use all the little tools, because you get people who talk about like meditation as I only do meditation. I do yoga. I do visualization. I do tarot cards. That's well and good. But I believe to live a balanced life to the fullest of your potential, you need to take slight aspects out of all well-being in life. I hear quite a lot of people saying like, oh, I want to get my mental health back to where it was. And my response to that is, how about you smash the away your mental health was, and you don't even think of that as a stopping stone. We shoot for the stars.
Yeah.
Because where you were brought you down to where you are now.
And I think I was about to ask you, well, what are the benefits of joining a course like yours? But I feel like whether it's you, whether it's Alex McCarthy, whether it's Becky Lisney, whether it's whoever I've spoken to recently, Carrie Hughes who's running events, whatever it is, you're giving someone the tools that they can use themselves rather than doing it for them.
Yeah. So I say after my 8-week program, I'm not trying to get people in so I can have them for 2 years.
Yeah.
I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a mentor. I'm not these people who want to hold on to you and make sure you come back for therapy sessions every couple of weeks.
Yeah.
No. After the 8-week program, we want to become friends.
Yeah.
After you've joined the Warrior to Warrior program, after that, I want to see you at events because you want to come and speak about how well you've done off the event.
Yeah.
I don't want people to think, oh, I've got to go on this coach and it's going to be 10 calls over 8 weeks. Oh, how am I going to fit that in? And then he's probably going to want me on calls after that as well. No. One
of the best conversations I had was with Kelda Wood from Climbing Out. absolute hero. I think she's one of the most inspirational women I've ever spoken to. And Climbing Out is all about taking people on an adventure to deal with their own traumas and their own problems they have in the past. And I remember interviewing her and I was like, so do you guys sit around the campfire and talk about it? She's like, nah, we just go out there and do it.
Yeah.
She's like, and kick butt. Like, we'll go out there and we'll do rock climbing, we'll do rafting, and we're going to use all these experiences to liberate yourself from being like, look, there are times to talk about these problems, but when you're on the side of a mountain, it's definitely not one of them. I mean, if you want to, you can crack on. But
I am a strong believer in just getting up and doing what you see.
Do it, yeah.
Like if you want to, like people say, like, oh, I might do Cold Lake swimming this year, and I'm like, okay, tell me when you've done it.
Yeah.
What? Sorry. I'm like, okay, that's fine. You've said you've hit a precedent now. You've wrote it down. You've told me what you're going to do. Next message is a photo of you doing it. Are we not going to talk about how I'm going to do it? I said, wait, a thing called walking that I already know you can do. You just walk straight into that lake. You take some deep breaths, and that's how you're going to do it.
Yeah, yeah.
If I never jumped at opportunities through my life, I would not be in the mindset I am now.
It's a really difficult thing to do in some regards because, I mean, I was talking to Becky Lisney about, like, you know, I ultimately I don't care about I know that my blood pressure's high. I deal with a lot of stress. I need to lose a lot of weight and stuff, you know. I know there are genuine reasons of why I need to lose weight, but ultimately, as far as my body image is concerned, I don't care, right? I am who I am, right?
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean I'm necessarily going to go walking out to the car with my top off because I don't want to put people off their breakfast. I said that to her and she was like, no, you don't have to think, you know, and she was very, very positive about that. Yeah. You shouldn't have to think like that. But, so it's weird. I've got this mode of, I don't care to, I ain't going to get my man boobs out, right? And I was talking to someone about Love to Stay because they have cold water swimming there. Great. So I was like, you should go and do that. I was like, they know me at Love to Stay. I've worked with them. There's no way I'm getting my guts out in front of them. Do you know what I mean? And it's weird how you can have these thoughts, these modes that morph into different things, isn't it? You know, it's so like...
I believe movies and social media has crushed men's... So, I don't know if I've got time for this. The image that is put out now for women is be yourself. Whatever weight you are.
Yeah.
There's plus size models on the front of Vogue.
Yeah.
When was the last time you seen a plus size male anywhere? That wasn't a joke on TV.
Yeah.
I have quite a good gut. I enjoy my gut. I like eating. I also know that I am 35, not getting no younger, and if I don't look after it, all the men in my family have got to really bad stages of diabetes. So I look on social media and I see 25-year-old ripped young men, and I see Thor, and I love comic movies. Ben Affleck as Batman. Come on, like, Jesus Christ. I know that the time and effort that I would need to put into that to look like that is not obtainable for me right now. I live a busy life. I make sure I go gym 4 times a week. I lift weights and I try and hit the battle bike and do a bit of CrossFit just to make sure that I don't go any higher than what I am now, weight-wise. But if you look at young single men who aren't stereotypical 6'2" and have a 30-inch waist and can bench press 5 plates aside, you're not very...
Stomach like a xylophone.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Like, women have put, like, men at this point, especially young single men and women, they've put themselves at such a disadvantage now to where the amount of single guys there are to the amount of single women they are, but yet the women have got the pick of the litter and they're making sure there's so many different things that they need ticked before they'll even take you on a date.
The apps are the worst.
The apps are the worst.
Yeah.
100%.
Swipe.
Like, how disingenuous is that you just literally swipe on the first photo?
Yeah. Makes me appreciate my wife a lot more because I'm just like, I love my wife, who she is.
Yeah.
Now, if I'd have seen, if my wife would have seen me a few years ago on an app, she might have swiped.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I understand. Yeah. I do see this. I had a friend who, when I was doing close protection, he used to say to me, let me take a photo with a car. And I'd be like, what do you mean? He said, for Tinder. And it would be him and he would stand in front of the Rolls Royce.
Oh, yeah.
And he'd just stand like that with a fake Gucci belt, and the amount of swipes that used to get. before he put up these photos. And like, that's the kind of society we live in. But that's another conversation.
We can do that. We can do it another time. I'd like to get you on regularly, actually, see how you get on, because I've really enjoyed chatting to you. Can you tell the listeners where they can speak to you, or they can get in touch with you?
So they can get to me on Instagram, Facebook, or on my website. The Instagram is Stephen Marshall Coaching. The Facebook is just Stephen Marshall, and you should see the tiger. And the website is stephenmarshallcoaching.com. And as I say, the free ebooks on there. There's a contact form. And if you just want to chat, drop me a message.
Well, I think you're great, because I feel like help comes in different shapes and forms. And, you know, sometimes you could do with a bit of a cuddle and a bit of a chat and a bit of a, you know, and sometimes you need someone that will just tell you to do it. And you, like you said, right, you want to go in the cold water swimming? Let's see you doing it then. I like that there is that version of help out there.
But like you said, whether you resonate with somebody like me, or whether you resonate with someone like Dan from Walking and Talking, or all the other, there's hundreds of coaches online. Just make sure you're going to somebody who has testimonials, somebody who has somebody that knows what they're talking about. And I'm not saying you've got to come to me. Most of the people that contact me, I actually turn to somebody else because I'm not what they need. Yeah. And I'm not saying that I'm too good for them. It's definitely not. I just know that my coaching would be far too aggressive for what they need in their life.
Yeah. Also, you're quite sincere as well, which is nice.
Thank you.
So that you know, if you be like, well, I want you to help me, but I've got these issues and these issues and these issues. You're a nice guy. You're not going to be like, well, I'm not going to help you then.
No, exactly.
You know, you're going to help them for that.
Push people in different directions where they need to be.
Wonderful.
That can help them.
Well, I've really enjoyed chatting to you, and we'll get you back on the show. There was a couple of ideas I want to work with in the new year.
Okay.
I think you might be a part of some of those plans, so I'll speak to them after the air. But yeah, I really appreciate this. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in to the Shrewsbury Biscuit. I mentioned at the beginning of the show, but I think it's worth mentioning again that we are building a brand new website. I want something that looks sexy, you know, and I feel like the Web Orchard are going to be making something like that. We looked at a few ideas. It's really funny. I went to their offices in Coton Hill, and they made me a cappuccino, Pete did, and I knocked it. Like, bearing in mind, this is like a computer office with wires and laptops and stuff everywhere. Sideswiped that cup right across the table, cappuccino everywhere. I was so embarrassed. But yeah, they make
a good cappuccino.
It was a great cappuccino. I had a quarter of it left. It was nice. But no, they do a great job. And so keep an eye out for what's going on there with Web Orchard. But there are spots left for sponsors. We're looking for sponsors. We need to bring some money into the show so that we can grow, because I think there's great potential out there for us. We're trying to find funding, and we need new equipment. I want a studio in town. That's what I really want. But we have a loud voice. The show has grown exponentially over the last few weeks. We've got more listeners, so there's more potential to be heard. So if you have a business, you have an idea, a company you want people to hear about, then please get in touch. I am offering pennies, people, for the advertising. The cheapest option we have is £100 a month, which at its most expensive is £25 an episode. And you can buy in and out of that. There's no contracts or anything. Just, if you want a month, buy a month, and that's how we do it. So if you need it, get in touch, and we'll get you heard. Right, thank you so much, Stephen, for chatting to me. Thank you for listening to the episode, guys, and we'll catch you guys next time. Peace out.